Imagine a wild, untamed forest where a tiger and a lion could theoretically just cross paths.
Right, which sounds completely made up.
It really does.
Yeah.
Like you think of lions and your brain immediately goes to the African savannah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And tigers, you picture dense jungles in Southeast Asia or maybe like the snowy forest up in Siberia.
Right. But there's actually this single geographic crossroads on Earth where the evolutionary paths of these two massive predators just overlap.
And that crossroads is India.
Yeah. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we have a really specific mission for you. We got our hands on this foundational source text that systematically breaks down the natural vegetation and wildlife of this incredible region.
And honestly, this material is just so densely packed with, well, ecological truths, like the actual mechanics of how life survives and adapts.
Exactly. So because it's so fundamental, we are going to do something a little special. We're going to use it as our map. I'm going to read passages from this source material exactly as they're written.
And then we're basically going to tear them open.
Yes. We're going to look past just, the lists of animals and trees, and we're going to dive straight into the physics, the biology, and the climate science that makes this ecosystem tick.
Which, I mean, if you want to understand global ecology at all, if you want to know how life adapts to the wettest or the driest or hottest environments, you have to study this region.
Yeah, it's like a microcosm of the whole Earth's biodiversity just squeezed into one subcontinent.
It really is.
So let's jump right into the text. It starts by framing the sheer scale of the whole thing. Here's the first passage. Have you observed the type of trees, bushes, grasses, and birds in the fields and parks in and around your school?
A great question to start with.
Right. It goes on. Are they similar or there are variations? India being a vast country, you can imagine the types of bioforms available throughout the country.
Mhm.
Our country, India, is one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries of the world. With about 47,000 plant species, India occupies 10th place in the world and 4th in Asia in plant diversity.
Okay, let's just pause on that number.
Yeah, 47,000 is huge. But let me finish the paragraph first.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
There are about 15,000 flowering plants in India, which account for 6% in the world's total number of flowering plants.
Wow.
The country has many non-flowering plants, such as ferns, algae, and fungi. India also has approximately 90,000 species of animals, as well as a rich variety of fish in its fresh and marine waters.
Okay, so the term that instantly jumps out there is mega biodiversity.
Yeah, what does that actually mean in practice?
It basically means the text is placing this region in an elite global category. It's a country with just a mind-boggling variety of living things.
Like, think of it as one of the Earth's top 12 megamalls for nature. You can find almost any biological strategy there.
That's a great way to put it, but to really appreciate that number 47,000 plants, 90,000 animals, you have to ask why. Why is it so much higher here than in other places?
I mean, I assume it has to do with the climate spectrum, right? And like you have the freezing Himalayas in the north, and then down south it's tropical ocean.
That is definitely part of it, but the real secret is actually geological history. Millions of years ago, the Indian tectonic plate was, it was part of this supercontinent called Gondwana.
Right, attached to Africa and Madagascar.
Exactly, and it broke off. It drifted across the ocean for tens of millions of years, just completely isolated.
Like a giant floating biological arc.
Yes. And during that isolation, evolution was just experimenting, creating things found nowhere else. And then it violently smashed into the Eurasian plate.
Which created the Himalayas, right?
Right. But it also created a bridge. Species from Asia poured in, isolated species moved out. It was a massive collision of two totally different evolutionary worlds.
Oh, wow. So that perfectly explains the tiger and the lion thing. It's a literal evolutionary intersection.
Exactly.
Now, I want to go back to the text. It breaks down those 47,000 plants and says 15,000 are flowering plants. But then it specifically mentions non-flowering ones, ferns, algae, fungi. Why make that distinction right away?
Well, because it's establishing the depth of the whole system. Like, flowering plants are the flashy latecomers to evolution. They use bugs to pollinate. They look pretty.
Right, they get all the attention.
Yeah, but those non-flowering plants, especially fungi, they are the ancient backbone. Without fungi recycling dead matter, these giant forests would just, suffocate under their own dead leaves.
That makes sense. Also, a quick question for a beginner listening to this. When the text says fresh and marine waters, what's the simplest way to distinguish those?
Oh, sure. Fresh water is your rivers and lakes. Marine water is the salty ocean.
Got it. Okay, so before the text lists the actual forests, It sets up some definitions about what we are even looking at. Here's the next section.
Let's hear it.
Natural vegetation refers to a plant community, which has grown naturally without human aid and has been left undisturbed by humans for a long time. This is termed as a virgin vegetation.
Okay, very specific definition there.
Yeah, and it clarifies it. Thus, cultivated crops and fruits, orchards form part of vegetation, but not natural vegetation.
Right, because humans intervened.
Exactly. The virgin vegetation, which are purely Indian, are known as endemic or indigenous species, but those which have come from outside India are termed as exotic plants. The term flora is used to denote plants of a particular region or period. Similarly, the species of animals are referred to as fauna.
Okay, there is a lot of crucial vocabulary packed in there. Let's unpack the first part. Virgin vegetation versus just regular vegetation.
Yeah, the text draws a hard line. If a human planted it, like an apple orchard or a wheat field, it's just vegetation.
Because we are controlling it, we're irrigating it, adding fertilizer. But if nature did it completely on its own, it's a self-regulating system. That's natural or virgin vegetation.
I do wonder, though, in today's world with climate change and everything, is anywhere truly untouched by humans anymore?
That's a huge debate in modern ecology, honestly. Probably not. But functionally, the text is just separating human farming from wild ecosystems.
That makes sense. Okay, then it breaks down the flora into endemic and exotic.
Right. Endemic or indigenous species are the locals. They were born and raised on that Indian tectonic plate.
And exotic plants are the tourists or the immigrants brought in from outside.
Yeah, and that's actually a really important distinction because exotic plants can sometimes become invasive. They show up without their natural predators and they just take over.
They bypass the whole evolutionary arms race.
Precisely.
And just to wrap up that paragraph, it defines flora and fauna. I always use a little memory trick for this. Flora sounds like flowers, so that's the plants. And fauna sounds like swan, like a baby deer, so that's the animals.
That is honestly a perfect trick to remember it.
Awesome. So now that we have our terms locked in, the text moves on to catalog the 5 major types of natural vegetation.
Let's start with the big ones.
All right, the green giants, the tropical evergreen forests. Here's what it says. The following major types of vegetation may be identified in our country. Tropical evergreen forests. These forests are restricted to heavy rainfall areas of the Western Ghats and the island groups of Lakshadweep, Andaman, and Nicobar, upper parts of Assam and Tamil Nadu coast.
So we are talking about very specific, very wet regions.
Very wet. They are at their best in areas having more than 200 centimeters of rainfall with a short dry season. The trees reach great heights up to 60 meters or even above.
60 meters, that is massive.
It is. Since the region is warm and wet throughout the year, it has luxuriant vegetation of all kinds, trees, shrubs, and creepers, giving it multi-layered structure. There is no definite time for trees to shed their leaves.
And that's the key sentence right there.
Yeah, let me finish the block. As such, these forests appear green all the year round. Some of the commercially important trees of this forest are ebony, mahogany, rosewood, rubber, and centona. The common animals found in these forests are elephant, monkey, lemur, and deer.
Wow, okay.
And finally, one-horned rhinoceroses are found in the jungles of Assam and West Bengal. Besides these animals, plenty of birds, bats, sloths, scorpions, and snails are also found in these jungles.
Okay, so let's start with the rain. More than 200 centimeters, that's over 6.5 feet of water dumping down.
It's an absolute deluge. Why does a place like the Western Ghats, which is a mountain range on the coast, get hammered with that much water?
It's a weather phenomenon. When the monsoon rolls in off the Arabian Sea, it's just this massive wall of warm, wet air. It hits those mountains and is forced up.
And as it goes up, it cools down.
Right. And cold air can't hold as much moisture, so it basically wrings out like a giant sponge. It just pours.
So you have infinite water and constant warmth. And the text says because of that, there is no definite time for trees to shed their leaves.
Yeah, and that's why they're called evergreen. There's no single season where everything goes brown. The forest is just permanently green.
Unlike where I grew up, where autumn hits and every tree just strips down to the branches.
Well, because where you grew up, winter freezes the ground. If a tree kept its leaves, the cold would destroy them anyway, and it wouldn't be able to replace the water because the soil is frozen solid.
Oh, right. So dropping leaves is actually a survival mechanism.
Right.
But here, they don't need to survive a freeze.
Exactly. So they just keep photosynthesizing year-round. It's way more efficient.
Let's talk about the structure of this place. The text says trees reach 60 meters, which is like 200 feet, and it has this multi-layered structure.
Yeah, I love that description.
It makes me think of the forest like a skyscraper apartment building. You've got the creepers on the ground floor, shrubs on the second floor, and these 60-meter giants are the penthouses.
That's a brilliant analogy. And it's all driven by competition for sunlight. Down on the ground floor, it's almost pitch black. So the plants down there have to have these massive leaves just to catch tiny flecks of light.
And the ones at the top, the penthouses, the textiles, ebony, mahogany, rosewood, those are incredibly dense woods.
They have to be. I mean, think about the plumbing required to pump water 200 feet straight up into the air against gravity. You need an incredibly strong structural core.
Which is why humans love them for furniture.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And to top it off, it lists the animals, elephants, rhinos, all the way down to snails and scorpions.
Yeah,
It really paints a picture of this dense, humid, booming ecosystem.
it does. But, what happens when you dial that water back just a little bit?
Well, the text takes us right there. The next section is about the monsoon forests,
Let's read it.
tropical deciduous forests. These are the most widespread forests of India. They're also called the monsoon forests and spread over the region, receiving rainfall between 200 centimeters and 70 centimeters.
Okay, so quite a bit less rain than the evergreens.
Yeah, and here's the huge shift. Trees of this forest type shed their leaves for about 6 to 8 weeks in dry summer. On the basis of the availability of water, these forests are further divided into moist and dry deciduous. The former is found in areas receiving rainfall between 200 and 100 centimeters. These forests exist, therefore, mostly in the eastern part of the country, northeastern states, along the foothills of the Himalayas, Jharkhand, West Odisha, and Chhattisgarh, and on the eastern slopes of the Western Ghats.
Okay, lots of geography there.
Definitely. It lists the species, too. Teak is the most dominant species of this forest. Bamboos, sal, shisham, sandalwood, care, kusum, arjun, and mulberry are other commercially important species.
All very valuable trees.
And then it moves to the drier part. The dry deciduous forests are found in areas having rainfall between 100 centimeters and 70 centimeters. These forests are found in the rainier parts of the peninsular plateau and the plains of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
There are open stretches in which teak, sal, peepal, and neem grow. A large part of this region has been cleared for cultivation, and some parts are used for grazing. In these forests, the common animals found are lion, tiger, pig, deer, and elephant. A huge variety of birds, lizards, snakes, and tortoises are also found here.
Right. So the first thing it tells us is this is the most widespread forest in the whole country. This is the dominant landscape.
Yeah. And the defining trait, the reason they are called deciduous, is that they actively drop their leaves for 6 to 8 weeks during the dry summer.
Which, if we think about the physics of a tree, is literally a matter of life and death.
How so?
Because trees don't pump water like a heart pumps blood, they pull it. As water evaporates out of the leaves in the hot sun, it creates a tension. It sucks more water up from the roots.
Like drinking from a really long straw.
Yes. But imagine if the cup goes dry and you keep sucking as hard as you can, the straw collapses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if the soil dries up, but the leaves are still demanding water, the tension gets so high that the water column inside the trunk will literally snap. It creates an air bubble, and that pipeline is permanently destroyed.
So they have to drop their leaves to turn the engine off to save their own plumbing.
Exactly. It's a brilliant, desperate survival strategy.
Now, the text divides this forest into moist and dry. Moist gets up to 200 centimeters, has lots of teak and bamboo, but I want to zero in on the dry deciduous areas, getting between 70 and 100 centimeters of rain.
Yeah, the plains.
The text says, a large part of this region has been cleared for cultivation, and some parts are used for grazing. Why this specific forest? Why did humans clear this one instead of the evergreen ones?
It comes down to ease of access. If you're an early human society, an evergreen forest is a nightmare. It's a dark, wet, impenetrable wall of dense wood.
Right. Good luck chopping down a 200-foot mahogany tree with early tools.
Exactly. But the dry, deciduous forest, it has a dry season, the trees drop their leaves, all that dead foliage is sitting on the ground.
Oh, it's basically kindling.
Exactly. You can use controlled fire to clear huge tracts of land very easily. Plus, the canopy is more open, so grasses grow on the floor. It's perfect for grazing your animals.
That makes total sense. So this specific ecosystem is where humans and nature really heavily interact.
Yeah, it's deeply tied to human civilization.
And still, even with all that human farming, it lists lions, tigers, pigs, deer. The wildlife just adapted to the rhythm of the wet and dry seasons.
They did, but what happens when that dry season is basically the whole year?
Right. Let's step into the extremes. The thorn forests and scrubs. Here's the next block. the thorn forests and scrubs. In regions with less than 70 centimeters of rainfall, the natural vegetation consists of thorny trees and bushes.
Less than 70 centimeters. We are in the desert now.
Yeah, completely arid. This type of vegetation is found in the northwestern part of the country, including semi-arid areas of Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, and Haryana.
Okay.
Acacias, palms, euphorbias, and cacti are the main plant species. Trees are scattered and have long roots penetrating deep into the soil in order to get moisture.
That's survival strategy number one.
Keep track, there are more. The stems are succulent to conserve water. Leaves are mostly thick and small to minimize evaporation. These forests give way to thorn forests and scrubs in arid areas. And for the fauna. In these forests, the common animals are rats, mice, rabbits, fox, wolf, tiger, lion, wild ass, horses, and camels.
So we have just walked into an incredibly hostile environment.
Definitely. I mean, the text just gave us a masterclass in desert survival engineering. Let's unpack the brilliant strategies these plants use, starting with those long roots.
Right, because the surface soil in a desert is lethal. It's baked by the sun, so these plants send a taproot straight down deep into the earth.
Like reaching deep underground to find hidden water.
Exactly. They are trying to tap into ancient aquifers that are way below the bedrock.
Okay, strategy 2 from the text. The stems are succulent to conserve water.
Which is so cool, because when it does rain in these regions, it's usually a brief, violent flash flood. A succulent stem is basically a biological water bottle.
Oh, so it swells up?
Yeah, it acts like a sponge, absorbs all that water instantly, and then slowly rations it out over the next 8 dry months.
That is genius. And strategy 3. Leaves are mostly thick and small to minimize evaporation. How does shrinking your leaf actually save water?
Well, think about a big, broad leaf. It catches a lot of sun, which means it gets really hot. To cool down, it has to sweat out water, just like we do.
Right.
But if your leaf is tiny, or if it's evolved into a sharp thorn, there's very little surface area to heat up. Plus, smaller leaves mean fewer pores to lose water out of.
That is amazing. And speaking of thorns, there's a fascinating little biological quirk hidden in the text here. It lists euphorbias and cacti side by side as the main plants.
Ah, yeah.
If you look at euphorbia, it looks exactly like a cactus, spiky, green, fleshy columns. But from what I understand, they are completely unrelated plant families, right?
Totally unrelated. They evolved on opposite sides of the world. But it's this thing called convergent evolution. If you face the exact same brutal problems, extreme heat, zero water, hungry herbivores, nature only has a few blueprints that actually work.
So they basically arrived at the exact same physical design completely independently. And the animals listed? Camels, wild asses, foxes, they are all built for tough, dry conditions too.
Yeah, they extract whatever calories they can from that tough scrub.
Okay, so we've starved the ecosystem of water. Now let's see what happens when we starve it of heat. The text takes us up the mountains into the montane forests.
This is a really dramatic shift. Let's hear it.
Montane forests. In mountainous areas, the decrease in temperature with increasing altitude leads to the corresponding change in natural vegetation.
That is the defining rule right there.
Right. As such, there is a succession of natural vegetation belts in the same order as we see from the tropical to the tundra region. The wet temperate type of forests are found between a height of 1,000 and 2,000 meters. Evergreen broadleaf trees, such as oaks and chestnuts, predominate.
Okay, so still quite lush.
Yeah, but then we go higher. Between 1,500 and 3,000 meters, temperate forests containing coniferous trees like pine, deodar, silver fir, spruce, and cedar are found. These forests cover mostly the southern slopes of the Himalayas, places having high altitude in southern and northeast India. At higher elevations, temperate grasslands are common. At high altitudes, generally more than 3,600 meters above the sea level, temperate forests and grasslands give way to the alpine vegetation. Silver fir, junipers, pines, and birches are the common trees of these forests.
But they don't look like normal trees.
Exactly, because the text says, however, they get progressively stunted as they approach the snowline. Ultimately, through shrubs and scrubs, they merge into the alpine grasslands.
Wow.
These are used extensively for grazing by nomadic tribes, like the Gujars and the Bokharwals. At higher altitudes, mosses and lichens form part of tundra vegetation.
Just bare rock at that point.
Basically. And here are the animals. The common animals found in these forests are Kashmir stag, spotted deer, wild sheep, jackrabbit, Tibetan antelope, yak, snow leopards, squirrels, shaggy horn wild ibex, bear and rare red panda, sheep and goats with thick hair.
Okay, so that opening sentence is everything. Decrease in temperature with increasing altitude. As you climb up the mountain, it gets colder, and that entirely dictates what can grow.
It's like climbing the Himalayas is basically taking a fast-forward trip from the warm equator straight to the freezing North Pole, just by walking uphill.
That is exactly what it is, and the text walks us up step by step. Between 1,000 and 2,000 meters, you have oaks and chestnuts with broad leaves. It's cool, but it's forgiving.
Right. But then you hit 1,500 to 3,000 meters, and those broadleaves totally vanish. We hit the coniferous trees, pines, spruce, cedar. Why do the leaves change to needles?
It's all about freezing physics. A broad oak leaf is full of watery sap. If that freezes, the ice crystals act like microscopic knives and shred the leaf from the inside out.
Oh, wow, that's brutal.
Yeah, but pine needles, they're tough, they have a waxy coating, and their sap acts like a biological antifreeze, so they can survive the sub-zero temperatures.
Plus, a plain cone shape lets heavy snow just slide right off instead of snapping the branches.
Exactly. But even they have a limit. The text says past 3,600 meters approaching the snow line, the trees get progressively stunted.
Yeah, why can't they grow tall?
Because of freezing high-altitude wind. Any branch that tries to grow upward gets instantly freeze-dried and sheared off by the wind. The trees literally have to cower close to the ground, twisting into these gnarly bushes just to survive.
And eventually, even those give up, merging into grasslands and finally just tundra. The text says mosses and lichens. Which, wait, a lichen isn't even a plant, is it?
No, it's actually a symbiotic partnership between a fungus and an algae living together. It is the absolute limit of where life can even exist.
That is wild. Now, I want to highlight the human element the text mentions here. The nomadic tribes, the Gujars and the Bakarwals grazing in those high alpine grasslands.
Yeah, it's incredible. They practice something called transhumance. They know those high meadows are buried in snow most of the year. But in the short summer, the grass explodes with nutrients.
So they just drive their herds up, feast and retreat before the winter kills them.
Exactly. They are perfectly integrating into the natural rhythm.
And they share that space with some seriously tough animals. The yak, the snow leopard, the red panda. The text notes they all have thick hair to survive the cold.
Yeah, the yak in particular is just built like a tank for that environment.
Okay, so we've climbed the mountains. Now let's go to the complete opposite extreme. Let's go to what happens when the land collides with the ocean. The mangrove forests.
Oh, these are fascinating.
Here's the text. Mangrove forests. The mangrove tidal forests are found in the areas of coasts influenced by tides.
Influenced by tides, that's a rough neighborhood.
Yeah. Mud and silt get accumulated on such coasts. Dense mangroves are the common varieties with roots of the plants submerged underwater.
Submerged in salt water.
Exactly. The deltas of the Ganga, the Mahanadi, the Krishna, the Godavari, and the Kaveri are covered by such vegetation. In the Ganga-Brahmaputra Delta, Sundari trees are found, which provide durable hard timber.
Very famous trees.
Palm, coconut, kiora, agar, etc. also grow in some parts of the Delta. Royal Bengal tiger is the famous animal in these forests. Turtles, crocodiles, gharials, and snakes are also found in these forests.
Okay, by all standard rules of botany, nothing should be able to grow in a mangrove forest.
Right. The text says the roots are submerged underwater, and because it's coastal, that water is salty. Salt literally sucks water out of plants. It kills them.
Yeah, if you put a normal houseplant in salt water, it's dead in a day. Mangroves are biological rule breakers. They have engineered a reverse osmosis filtration system in their roots.
Wait, really? Like they filter the salt out?
Yeah, they have these highly selective cell membranes that block almost all the salt from even entering. And any salt that does get in, some of them just pump it into one specific leaf until it turns yellow and falls off.
They just sacrifice a leaf to stay alive. That is incredible.
It really is.
So what about the mud? The text says mud and silt get accumulated, and the roots are totally submerged. Don't roots need oxygen to live? They can't breathe in thick mud?
No, they can't. Which is why mangroves have these alien-looking root structures called pneumatophores. They basically send up hundreds of little wooden snorkels out of the mud.
Snorkels.
Yeah. When the tide goes out, these snorkels are exposed to the air, and they literally breathe in oxygen and send it down to the trapped roots below.
Wow. And the text points out the Sundari tree in the Ganga-Brahmaputra Delta, noting it provides durable hard timber.
Which makes sense. If you are a tree getting battered by ocean tides every day, spending all your energy fighting salt, your wood is going to grow really slow and become incredibly dense.
And speaking of the Delta, the text drops this massive icon. Royal Bengal tiger is the famous animal in these forests. alongside crocodiles and gharials.
Right. Think about the adaptation required there. A tiger is usually a land predator. It ambushes things. In the mangroves, it's basically an amphibious hunter swimming through mud and tidal channels.
That sounds absolutely terrifying.
It really is a testament to how adaptable they are.
So we've toured all these major ecosystems. Now, the source text takes a sharp pivot. It focuses on how humans have interacted with all this biodiversity, specifically nature's pharmacy.
This is where it gets really applicable to us.
Let's read this section on medicinal plants. India is known for its herbs and spices from ancient times. Some 2,000 plants have been described in Ayurveda, and at least 500 are in regular use.
500 in regular use today. That's a massive natural pharmacy.
It is, but there's a warning. The World Conservation Union's Red List has named 352 medicinal plants, of which 52 are critically threatened and 49 endangered.
That is a harsh reality.
Yeah. Then it lists some common ones. Sarpaganda. Used to treat blood pressure, it's found only in India. Jamun. The juice from ripe fruit is used to prepare vinegar, which is carminative and diuretic and has digestive properties. The powder of the seed is used for controlling diabetes.
Lots of medical terms there.
Right. Arjun. The fresh juice of leaves is a cure for earache. It is also used to regulate blood pressure. Bebul. Leaves are used as a cure for eye sores. Its gum is used as a tonic. Neem has high antibiotic and antibacterial properties.
Very famous one, neem.
Tulsi is used to cure cough and cold. Kashnar is used to cure asthma and ulcers. The buds and roots are good for digestive problems.
Okay, so the text mentions Ayurveda at the top. For a beginner, what is the simplest way to understand that?
From what I gather, it's an ancient Indian medical system that's entirely based on these natural herbs and plants.
Exactly. But the really interesting question is, why do these plants have these medical properties? Like, a plant didn't evolve a chemical specifically to cure your earache.
Right. They aren't out there trying to be helpful.
No, they are fighting a war. A plant can't run away from a bug that wants to eat it, so it uses chemical warfare. It creates complex toxins to poison whatever tries to take a bite.
Oh. So over thousands of years, humans just sort of figured out how to hijack those defensive poisons.
Precisely. We realized that a tiny controlled dose of a plant's defense mechanism could manipulate our own bodies in a helpful way.
Let's look at the list the text provided. Sarpaganda for blood pressure. It says it's found only in India.
Yeah, and that one is fascinating. Sarpaganda has this chemical in it, and in the 20th century, modern medicine isolated it and used it as one of the very first major pharmaceutical drugs for high blood pressure.
Wow, so the ancient knowledge was completely backed up by modern chemistry.
Totally.
It mentions jamun, which the text says is carminative and diuretic. That sounds super complicated, but it basically just means it helps with digestion and making you pee, right? Fluid flow.
Yep, that's exactly what it means.
And then neem, high antibiotic and antibacterial properties.
Again, the neem tree made that chemical so fungi wouldn't rot its trunk in the humid jungle, and humans realized, hey, if I put this on my skin, it protects me too.
But then we have that warning. 52 of these medicinal plants are critically threatened. We're literally losing our natural medicines.
Right, because if a plant only grows in one specific region and everyone is digging up the roots for medicine without replanting it, we don't just lose a flower, we permanently lose the genetic code for that chemical cure.
That's a terrifying thought. And the text transitions right from that into the broader animal kingdom. Let's read the wildlife section.
Let's do it.
Wildlife. Like its flora, India is also rich in its fauna. It has approximately 90,000 animal species. The country has about 2,000 species of birds. They constitute 13% of the world's total.
13%?
There are 2,546 species of fish, which account for nearly 12% of the world's stock. It also shares between 5 and 8% of the world's amphibians, reptiles, and mammals.
The statistics are just staggering.
Yeah. The elephants are the most majestic animals among the mammals. They're found in the hot, wet forests of Assam, Karnataka, and Kerala. One-horned rhinoceroses are the other animals, which live in swampy and marshy lands of Assam and West Bengal.
Matching the animals to the forests.
It's exactly. Arid areas of the Ranakak and the Thar Desert are the habitat for wild ass and camels, respectively. Indian bison, nilgai, blue bull, chuzan, four-horned antelope, gazelle, and different species of deer are some other animals found in India. It also has several species of monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a big sentence. Wildlife Protection Act was implemented in 1972 in India. India is the only country in the world that has both tigers and lions.
The hook from the start of the show.
Yeah. The natural habitat of the Indian lion is the Gir forest in Gujarat. Tigers are found in the forests of Madhya Pradesh, the Sundarbans of West Bengal and the Himalayan region. Leopards, too, are members of the cat family. They are important among animals of prey.
Okay, so the percentages here are just wild. 13% of all birds, 12% of all fish in one country.
It's massive, and I love how the text maps the animals right back to the ecosystems we just learned about. It puts the elephants in the wet evergreen forests.
Which they need, because an elephant has to eat hundreds of pounds of vegetation every single day. They need that massive, constant growth.
And then it puts the camels in the arid thorn forests.
Right, ecological niches.
But let's talk about the lions and tigers. India is the only country in the world that has both tigers and lions. The text specifies the lion is in the Gir forest in Gujarat, but tigers are everywhere. Sundarbans, Himalayas, everywhere. Why is the lion trapped in one spot while the tiger is all over the map?
It's mostly about history and genetics. The Asiatic lion actually used to roam all the way across the Middle East and India, but humans hunted them relentlessly and their habitats were destroyed.
So they got pushed into a corner.
Exactly. The Gir forest became their last stand, whereas tigers are solitary hunters. They are incredibly adaptable. They can cross rivers and survive in snow, so they manage to hang on in a lot more fragmented areas.
The text mentions a specific date. Wildlife Protection Act was implemented in 1972.
Why just drop that fact in the middle of a paragraph?
Because 1972 was a total paradigm shift. Before that, forests were just seen as places to extract timber, and animals were just targets for hunting.
The 1972 Act was the government finally legally recognizing that this insane biodiversity we're talking about was collapsing, and it needed federal protection.
It set the stage for everything that comes next in the text, which actually leads us perfectly into the next section about how human life is totally dependent on this system.
Oh, this paragraph is profound. Read it.
In the rivers, lakes, and coastal areas, turtles, crocodiles, and gharials are found. The latter is the only representative of a variety of crocodiles found in the world today.
The gharial is such a unique creature.
Bird life in India is colorful. Peacocks, pheasants, ducks, parakeets, cranes, and pigeons are some of the birds inhabiting the forests and wetlands of the country.
Now here is the big shift.
We have selected our crops from a biodiverse environment, i.e. from the reserve of edible plants. We also experimented and selected many medicinal plants. The animals were selected from large stock provided by nature as milch animal.
Milch animal meaning for milk.
Right. They also provided us draft power, transportation, meat, and eggs. The fish provide nutritive food. Many insects help in pollination of crops and fruit trees, and exerting biological control on such insects is harmful. Every species has a role to play in the ecosystem. Hence, conservation is essential.
Okay, let's touch on the gharial really quickly. It says it's the only representative of its variety.
What actually is a gharial?
It's a type of crocodilian, but it has this incredibly long, super skinny snout with interlocking teeth. It's perfectly evolved just for swiping sideways through the water to catch fish.
But being that specialized makes you vulnerable, right?
Exactly. If the river gets polluted and the fish die, the gharial can't just climb onto land and hunt deer like a regular crocodile. It's trapped by its own evolution.
Now, moving on to the human part, the text repeats the word selected 3 times. We selected crops, we selected medicinal plants, we selected animals. This really reframes things for me.
Doesn't it? We act like humans invented agriculture in a vacuum.
Right. But the text is saying, no, we just looked at the 47,000 plants, and through thousands of years of trial and error, we coaxed a wild grass into becoming wheat.
We pulled a wild bovine out of the forest and selectively bred it into a milch animal. A cow that gives milk or used its draft power to pull our plows.
It's a total partnership. But the text ends with this warning about insects. Exerting biological control on such insects is harmful. It says they help in pollination.
Right. If you spray a massive field with pesticides to kill one bug that's eating your crops, you might accidentally kill the solitary bee that pollinates your fruit trees.
Or kill the bug that naturally eats the bad bugs.
Exactly. Every species has a role to play. It's a house of cards. If you pull out the mosquito or the ugly scrub brush, you don't know what will collapse on top of it.
Which is the perfect chilling setup for the next section. The threats and conservation efforts. Let's read it.
The darkest part of the text.
As has been mentioned earlier, due to excessive exploitation of plant and animal resources by human beings, the ecosystem has been disturbed. About 1,300 plant species are endangered, and 20 species are extinct.
20 species completely gone forever.
Quite a few animal species are also endangered, and some have become extinct. The main causes for this major threat to nature are hunting by greedy hunters for commercial purposes.
That's cause number one.
Pollution due to chemical and industrial waste, acid deposits, introduction of alien species, and reckless cutting of the forests to bring land under cultivation and habitation are also responsible for the imbalance.
Okay, so a laundry list of threats.
And here is the response. To protect the flora and fauna of the country, the government has taken many steps. 1. 18 biosphere reserves have been set up in the country to protect flora and fauna.
Step one.
2. Financial and technical assistance is provided to many botanical gardens by the government since 1992. 3. Project Tiger, Project Rhino, Project Great Indian Bustard, and many other eco-developmental projects have been introduced.
Step three.
And finally, 4. 106 national parks, 573 wildlife sanctuaries and zoological gardens are set up to take care of natural heritage. All of us must realize the importance of the natural ecosystem for our own survival. It is possible if indiscriminate destruction of natural environment is put to an immediate end.
Okay, wow. So the text breaks down the threats very clearly. First, commercial hunting.
Which is different from, like, a local tribe hunting a deer to survive.
Yeah.
This is removing apex predators for global trade.
Right, and if you take out the tiger, the deer population explodes. They eat all the saplings, the forest stops regenerating, and the soil washes away. It destabilizes everything.
It also mentions pollution, acid deposits, and alien species, which we talked about, those exotic plants taking over, and reckless cutting of forests.
Right, chopping a big forest to tiny little islands, the animals get trapped, they inbreed, and eventually they just die out.
So the text outlines 4 government solutions. I want to understand these. Step 1, 18 biosphere reserves. How is that different from just a normal national park?
Oh, a biosphere reserve is super clever. It's a zoning system. You have a strict core area where humans literally cannot go. Nature is totally left alone.
Okay.
But around that is a buffer zone for research. And outside that is a transition zone where local communities can farm sustainably. It's trying to let humans and nature coexist instead of just building a fence.
Step 2 is funding botanical gardens.
Which are like genetic vaults, right? If a plant is extinct in the wild, maybe it survives in the garden, so its DNA isn't lost.
Right. Step 3 lists specific animal projects. Project Tiger, Project Rhino. Why spend so much money saving one specific animal?
Because they are what's called umbrella species.
Umbrella species, okay.
Yeah, it is really hard to get the public excited about saving a weird soil fungus. But a tiger, people love tigers, and a tiger needs a massive, healthy forest full of deer to survive.
So by protecting the tiger, you accidentally protect the deer, the trees, and the weird soil fungus. The tiger acts as an umbrella over the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And step 4 is just the sheer scale of it. 106 national parks, 573 sanctuaries. It's just carving out geography and giving it back to nature.
And the text wraps that section up by saying, saving this stuff is required for our own survival. Indiscriminate destruction, just mindless destruction, has to end.
Because we need that life support system.
We really do. Okay, to close out the source document, there are these 2 special focus boxes. They are almost poetic, looking at the extremes. Let's read them both.
Go for it.
Migratory birds. Some of the wetlands of India are popular with migratory birds. During winter, birds, such as Siberian crane, come in large numbers. One such place favorable with birds is the Rann of Kachh. At a place where the desert merges with the sea, flamingo with their brilliant pink plumage come in thousands to build nest mounds from the salty mud and raise their young ones. It is one among many extraordinary sights in the country. Is it not a rich natural heritage of ours?
That is a beautiful image.
And the second box. Do you know, the Himalayas harbor a hardy range of animals, which survive in extreme cold. Ladakh's freezing high altitudes are a home to yak, the shaggy-horned wild ox weighing around 1 ton, the Tibetan antelope, the varroa, blue sheep, wild sheep, and the kiang, Tibetan wild ass. Furthermore, the ibex, bear, snow leopard, and rare red panda are found in certain pockets.
2 totally different extremes.
Let's start with the birds. Migratory birds, like the Siberian crane, they fly thousands of miles to get here.
Because winter in Siberia means everything freezes. They would starve. So they fly to India to find food.
The text paints this picture of flamingos in the Rann of Kachh, where the desert merges with the sea. Thousands of them building nests in salty mud. Why there?
It's actually genius. It's a seasonal salt marsh. Because it's so incredibly salty, terrestrial predators like wolves or foxes won't go out there.
Oh, it's a safe zone.
Yeah, and that salty water breeds specific algae and tiny crustaceans that flamingos eat.
Which is where they get their pink color, right? From the beta-carotene in the food.
Exactly. It's the perfect, highly defended nursery.
And then in total contrast, the final box leaves us up in Ladakh in the freezing high altitudes of the Himalayas. These aren't migratory animals. These are the permanent residents.
The absolute tough guys of the animal kingdom.
Yeah, the shaggy horned wild ox weighing around 1 ton.
Nah.
The yak. You mentioned earlier they have special blood for the thin air, but how do they survive the cold?
Well, their shaggy coat is basically a multi-layered insulation system. It traps dead air against their skin so the cold can't penetrate.
Every animal listed there, the snow leopard, the red panda, they're just highly specialized survival machines.
Pulling calories out of an environment that basically offers nothing.
It's the perfect bookend. We started by marveling at 47,000 plant species and lush forests, and we end here at the freezing edge of the Earth.
It really highlights the whole spectrum.
We have taken a profound journey today. Using this text as our map, we didn't just list stuff. We tracked the physical mechanics. We saw how monsoon winds hit the mountains to build those 200-foot tall evergreen water pumps.
We looked at the physics of transpiration that forces deciduous trees to literally drop their leaves to save their own plumbing.
We saw deep taproots in the desert. And we climbed the Himalayas to watch the air pressure drop until trees twisted into crumb-hole shrubs.
We watched mangroves filter salt out of ocean water.
And we saw how early humans mapped the chemical warfare of those plants to create the foundation of modern medicine. It's incredible.
And we had to face the reality that it's all deeply fragile. We are embedded in this system.
We absolutely are. So, to leave you with a final thought, to ponder based on everything we've unpacked today, the text emphasized that our medicines came from these wild plants, but hundreds of them are critically endangered right now.
Yeah.
We are basically living off the interest of an ancient biological bank account. So the next time you walk past a patch of wild brush or see an insect you don't even recognize, consider the hidden mechanics inside it. What did millions of years of evolutionary trial and error build in there? And more importantly, what undiscovered cure or what load-bearing piece of our global ecosystem might be hiding inside it, just waiting to be understood before it is lost forever?
That is a powerful question to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.